Welcome back to the Radio Horror YouTube channel this holiday season on the winter solstice, which is very funny. Back in 1996, a little movie that could, and boy could it ever, like a train, made $100 million, which I think is like at the time the first real horror movie to ever really do that, was Scream, directed by the late great Wes Craven. And it blew everyone away. And I didn't see it until the summer when I was in where was I? I was in summer school. But I was like, what is this movie? And I finally got to see it. And we're going to talk about the 25th anniversary of Scream. It is the little movie that could. It broke $100 million. It was unbelievable. It started out very slow, and people were like, well, there's another wasted horror movie. But then it just changed everything. And boy, did it change everything for the better or worse, depending on your opinion. Because some people love what Scream did, a lot of people hate what Scream did. It's very equal measured. It ushered in this wave of the floating head posters and the smoking hot male and female talent in horror movies. Because let's face it, up to that point, horror movie talent was okay. I guess they're kind of good looking, but it was not the way it was or has been since then. Scream definitely changed the horror genre in so many ways. The self-aware meta horror as well. Horror movies were not very well known for being like, hey, that happened in a horror movie. Scream was the first to do that. I think every horror movie has copied it in some way, shape, or form or other. And we get an iconic killer too, for the first time in a while, since, well, I guess technically Candyman, but he's not always considered a slasher. But we get a brand new iconic slasher. Katie's going to talk to us about her thoughts on the 25th anniversary. One of the greatest horror movies of all time? Question mark? Yes, in my opinion, it is.
Yes, Scream, directed by Wes Craven and written by Kevin Williamson, who would later write Dawson's Creek. And I believe I Know What You Did Last Summer, at least the first one. God, honestly, these shadows in my apartment kind of freaked me out a little bit. Seriously, I was a little freaked out about it. Starring Neve Campbell, Courtney Cox, Skeet Ulrich, Matthew Lillard, and David Arquette and Drew Barrymore. Now, the thing that
and the Fonz.
Well, yes, and Henry Winkler, who I actually have a little anecdote regarding that, because I actually got to talk to him about Scream at a meet and greet. But Scream 1 from the get-go starts off unlike any horror film that we have seen that so far until 1996. Drew Barrymore, who was the golden girl of the 90s at the time, starts the film as Casey Becker, the girl at home who picks up her landline. Kids, a landline means that's a phone that is plugged into your house that you can only talk to when you are at home. I know this is going to be confusing, but go with me. This is 25 years ago. She gets some calls, yada, yada, yada. What's your favorite scary movie? Yes, that is the question of the film. And Ghostface appears. Oh yeah, let me show you Ghostface. Ghostface appears, kills her within the first 10 to 15 minutes of the film. Now, people may
spoilers for 25 years.
What?
It's a 25-year-old spoiler.
I know, it's been 25 years. Sorry, it's been 2 decades and 2.5 decades. And if you haven't seen this, yeah, Drew Barrymore dies in the first 15 to 20 minutes. Now, that set the pace for films or shows like Game of Thrones and different films where you've got the major bankable star that bites it right away. Because Courtney Cox had just started Friends. That wasn't as big a thing. Not many people. Neve Campbell wasn't a household name. Skeet Ulrich, I would say no one knew who Skeet Ulrich was. I mean, basically, he was like the younger version of Johnny Depp at that time, who Wes Craven kind of discovered Johnny Depp. So it kind of goes hand in hand. But that from the get-go, when Drew Barrymore bites it, that was a trendsetter moment. And then you have And it's not like, and let me just point this out too. It's not that she only was killed. I mean, they disemboweled her. Again, spoiler, but this was a brutal, brutal killing that she had. And that is similar to many of the other ones that you see throughout the film. If you don't know, Wes Craven makes a little Alfred Hitchcock cameo as Fred the janitor, dressed up like Freddy Krueger. Very, very cute. And you get to know the rest of these characters, like Tatum, Rose McGowan, awesome, great best friend. You know, typically, you know, you have the, oh, she's a little too sexy. Not quite, even though you can tell it's very cold in that garage. But one of the things that the film does, as Chris pointed out, it gives away the little tropes and secrets that every horror nerd knows. It's like, you don't have sex, you don't say I'll be right back, you don't go outside to investigate a strange noise, you don't say hello, who is it? I mean, it's these like little secret horror things that
no drinking.
Yeah, no drinking, no drugs, all the rules that all of us horror nerds knew for many, many years, and this brought it to the mainstream. And since then, it's like everyone knows these things, and they have either made it so they don't do a 180 and they completely don't do it, or they oversaturated with it because it's like, well, you know the secret, so you might as well do it. Henry Winkler, when I got to talk to him about Scream, one, he had nothing but beautiful things to say about Wes Craven. Kindest man, gentle giant. He's like 6'5" or something, 6'6". When he did Scream, they originally had asked him not to do interviews because the audience reaction they thought the audience would laugh. But then again, spoiler, it's been 25 years. But then when Henry Winkler died in the film, and everybody like had this huge like, what? And they saw his name in the credits. The studios actually called him back up. It's like, hi, you know what? Would you actually do some interviews and like some touring with this? Because everybody loves you, and they should, because this film, again, set the precedence for horror films. You've got the double killers at the end. One who honestly I don't even think Stu has any idea why he's doing this. He just does it for fun. He doesn't even understand that Billy Loomis, who's played by Skeet Ulrich, has this whole ulterior motive and everything. Like you can see, and I gotta give Matthew Lillard credit for his acting, because when Billy does the whole like, you know, your mom was a slut whore, slept with my dad and all that stuff, you can see Stu's face go like,
and the line is, your mom was flashing her stuff all over town like she was Sharon Stone, and your mom was no Sharon Stone.
She's no Sharon Stone.
Also, what's funny is we're not going to get into 2, 3, 4, and obviously we haven't seen 5 yet, and we'll come back for a big review of 5. But there is a slight, tiny on the television screen in handcuffs cameo of Cotton Weary, the man that Billy and Stu framed for the murder of Sydney's mother, played by a very young, at the time, early, I think around the time of Phantoms probably came out, Liev Schreiber.
Liev Schreiber.
Because there is a plot line within a plot line of the movie because of this other murder that happened, which is, yep, I thought, very well crafted. And we don't need to have all the details of what happened a year ago, I'm assuming. It seems like it's about a year ago. That you know, and you know what Stu and Billy and Stu did to build up what they were gonna do, you know, to all their friends. They were true psychopaths. I mean, they did not care about their friends whatsoever. But it was great that, you know, we get like great things in like a video store. If you watch Scream today, children, that's how you rented movies. There was no internet. I'm shocked we even had cell phones in Scream.
Well, and that's the thing when they say, it's like, what are you doing with the cellular phone? This is called a video cassette tape. you put these in video cassette players. They're called VCR recorders. Yeah, in the movie, they actually said, like, what are you doing with a cellular phone? Everyone's got them, Sheriff. Yeah, that's how crazy it is, that it's like a cellular phone. That seems kind of crazy that you kids are doing that. And I don't know, this was so ahead of its time. I mean, I love the fact that with the two killers, it kind of is a throwback to Alfred Hitchcock, and different I mean, there's a few serial killers that you can say it kind of borrowed a little influence from, but again, it was ahead of its time and it became a trendsetter. Like now a lot of different films like have that, out of the box, no one saw this coming, no one even understood why the killers were doing this. They just did it. And it does have everything with Sydney's mom that was Scream, the movie Scream. This is the year anniversary of when Sydney's mom was murdered. That's why Billy and Stu were coming out again to do this stuff. But I mean, it put Nev Kimmel was starting to do Party of Five, put her like way above the map. Courtney Cox was one of the only Friends who had a successful film career. You could say Jennifer Aniston had some, but nothing compared to Scream. And Skeet Ulrich, I mean, that blew him out of that. I mean, he was the man. Like he's still doing cons and stuff like that. Matthew Lillard, right. He had done a few things before Scream, but again, the main person that this was going to be a draw for to see was Drew Barrymore, and then you kill her within 15 minutes. One of the other things I love about this film is that it's a film within, not a film within a film, but I mean, they reference like at least a dozen or more films in the film. All the Right Moves, Nightmare on Elm Street, Halloween, Friday the 13th. And thank you for bringing Pamela Voorhees to the forefront. Everyone's always Jason. I'm a big PV fan. They make sure to say it's like, no, the killer in Friday the 13th was not Jason. It was his mother, Pamela Voorhees. Thank you, Kevin Williamson, and thank you, Wes Craven, for bringing that up. But again, more and more, it's like Trading Places. They bring that up when they talk about Jamie Lee Curtis. And it's a horror film that loves horror films and loves films in general. Like, I think we all were a little bit randy in the 90s and later on and stuff like that. But yeah, this is a film that stands the test of time. I mean, things have changed in time, as most do, but still, to see these, to see the practical effects, to see the gore, to see the kills. I mean, Drew Barrymore sold it with this. Like this looks like she's actually like seriously freaked out watching this, because I just watched it right before we started doing this. Love it. 25 years. I'm really looking forward to the new one coming out in January. I personally saw Scream in the theater 4 times. Once by myself, and then 3 other times I actually brought people just because I wanted to see their reaction. And that's one of the reasons why it became, I think, the biggest hit that it did. Because I mean, the opening weekend was like 6 million, so they kind of were sort of weary about it. But this is a time when movies would stay in theaters for like months. It wouldn't be like, oh, you had a bad weekend, it's pulled within 2 weeks. Like, it's a different time, but damn it, I'm gonna say it again. Scream holds it. Ghostface killer, Ghostface, male, female, whatever. It can be whatever it is, and you just need a good knife and slice and dice.
The score and the music for Scream are fantastic. We get that red right hand, just the kids are all being let out of school, and you get the just the ominous Marco Beltran, I think, is the composer for the music.
I don't know.
The score was recently released on vinyl only for 1 and 2, which is great, because It came in like a dual vinyl set, and it's got this amazing image of the Ghostface holding up like a phone with the knife like into the town of Woodsboro, which I think is really really cool. Sorry, Brian Taylor. I don't know why I said what I did. Brian Tyler did the music for Scream, and it definitely cast this like ominous feel through the entire movie of this tiny little town, which is great. Which is why I always love the original film so much more than the others. I didn't see Scream in theaters, like I said. I rented it when I was in summer school, like sleepaway summer school the following summer. But I saw 2, 3, 4, and I will be seeing 5 in theater. My son has seen all the Scream movies, and he was Ghostface for Halloween 2 years ago. Was it 2 years ago? Was it a year ago? No, it was last year. Sorry, during COVID. During COVID's height of the pandemic, he was Ghostface. So he had just seen all 4 Scream movies. And he absolutely loved it. It's one of my favorite horror movies in the slasher genre to go to. One of my favorite Wes Craven movies, always will be. This Blu-ray box set you can easily find the original. It contains all of the DVD extras as well. They've never put it out as a huge collector's edition. And fans have been hoping for one day we'll get a big, maybe Scream Factory collector's edition of all 4, now 5 films. It's unknown. There's a great documentary on this box set worth watching called Still Screaming, and then Scream the Inside Story is just about the first film, but Still Screaming is about all 3 or 4 films. It's kind of like a retrospective documentary. I predicted another few years some fan will do a big massive one with tons of interviews from every single one of the movies. But if you have never seen Scream before, there's a new film coming out January 13th, 14th, Thursday or Friday. And it's highly recommended you see this movie. The best part of last year when I was in the hospital getting a what do you call it? IV bag of medicine for one of the trips that I had to go there for an infection I had, not COVID related, just happened to be during COVID. So I'm sitting there in an hour and a half that it takes to drain the bag into my system, and it's 8 o'clock on ABC. I think it was definitely ABC. And Drew Barrymore is hosting, obviously to promote her own television show because she has her own talk show, a Scream on national regular television, just like they would used to do. And she's coming in and out of the commercials or whatever, being like, "Oh, that's right, I'm not in this scene because I died at the beginning of the movie. Okay, let's get back to the film, guys." And then, but she would go back to it, and then she would come back with like, "Hey, coming up on the Drew Barrymore show this week, we're gonna have this person and blah blah blah. We're gonna talk about the Halloween stuff because it came out at Halloween." I watched that whole movie with Drew Barrymore doing the hosting during the commercial breaks. It was fantastic. I didn't care that they cut out stuff because it's gonna be broadcast on national TV. It was just really cool to see Drew Barrymore hosting a Scream watch along on national television. Which again, I haven't watched a movie on national TV like ABC in like years. So that was a lot of fun. Again, watch Scream if you've never seen it. Pick up merchandise for Scream if you can find it. That Ghostface toy I had is fantastic. It's probably one of the most easy to find DVDs out there. So if you've never seen it, I highly recommend it. We will be back in a few weeks with our review of the new Scream, which I am calling Scream 5, despite the fact it's just called Scream, and that's stupid and lame, and the marketing people are morons in my opinion. But also here on the Radio Horror YouTube channel, check out my interview with Roger Jackson, the voice of the killer Ghostface. Like, subscribe, and comment. Check out Cati the Blonde in Front of Fear on her Facebook page, and we'll be back in a couple weeks with Scream 5.